Hey guys, and welcome back to Spotlight Reviews. On the Spotlight today is Season 3, Episode 13, the finale of The Handmaid's Tale. I am so excited to review this because it made all of my dreams come true. Honestly, I was so sucked into this episode. I couldn't even look away. I had to keep rewinding if I missed something, and I'm excited to talk about it, so let's get started. Okay, so the episode flashes back to the dawn, of Gilead, and June is captured along with all the other women, and they're basically being stored like cattle, like animals. They're in some type of factory, like some meat making factory. There are guards all around. They're calling them names. Some of them are being stripped naked, just out in the open. I mean, it's complete terror. And when I saw this, I was like, I can't even imagine going through something like this. I mean, you're shocked, you're ripped away from your family, and then you're just being herded from place to place until you reach, that ultimate cage. And then, June sees that other handmaid that we know of. I forgot her name, even on that first day. And she's just trying to figure out where in the world her daughter is and what is going on. So did you guys notice that the guard that she tries to talk to and ask about finding her daughter is the same guy at the very end whose daughter is actually reunited with him, Rebecca? So I thought that was a great way to tie the entire episode together from beginning to end. And also, I think it was great to show this flashback in the beginning, because then it goes on to the other scene of her collecting soaps and everything in order to do this plan of getting the kids out of Gilead. So it almost is like she went from hopelessness to actually having that abundant sense of hope within the next scene, because she's planning that huge escape. Also, this is directly before season 1, episode 1, because they're wearing that same clothing, Janine and June, that they wore in that scene with Aunt Lydia. The first time that they go, to Aunt Lydia's class, quote unquote. And look at this transportation they're taking. They have to hold on to chains. I mean, they're just being treated like straight up cattle or just woman slaves, basically. Okay, let's talk about the preparation involved in making this plan of escape happen. Now, June is collecting all of these soaps on the street, and, all these different handmaids are trying to be sneaky. I did notice that there are no street signs. Instead, they have grid coordinates up at the top. And that is just really interesting to me, because it's like you guys don't want them to read that bad that you have to put grid coordinates up. And who is supposed to remember what grid coordinate? Like, if you wanted to know what street something was on, do you say, no, it's grid coordinate 426198? Nobody's going to remember that. So that was really intricate and a complicated way to mark, your destination and where you are. Also, I did notice that June does not have a walking partner anymore. She is being escorted by a guardian, because clearly they don't trust her with a walking partner at this stage in the game. And on the rooftop, on the right-hand side at the bottom right of this picture, there's a guard on the roof. I mean, how many guards do you need? It's not that much going on in Gilead for all these guards. They overdo it when it comes to these guards. But I did notice, that small little detail. I wanted to point that out. By the way, did you guys love this part when Janine came up to June and was just like, I have a gift for you, and dropped the soap in her bag and was like, yay, because it was just so sweet and cute. And Janine is so innocent minded. And I just feel like it really brought, everyone has so much hope and belief in this entire plan, and everyone's so anticipating, how it's going to come about. And I just thought it was a really cute thing to put into the scene. At first, I couldn't figure out why in the world she got so much soap and why everyone was giving her soap, but the soap was boiled down and used to fog the windows that don't have curtains and to moisturize the gate so that it doesn't squeak when people were trying to sneak in. So they're packing lunches, they're filling water bottles, they got book bags, blankets, all those different types of things. So it makes me think, okay, they really have the logistics of this down, and you're really wondering how all of this is going to come into play once people start, showing up. But I was really surprised that they did not have an exact way that they were going to get to the plane. I mean, they thought about all of this part, but not actually knowing how they were going to get there. I just felt okay, you waited till last minute to try to figure that out. And that seemed to me to be the most important part. But I mean, I do understand that not every single little thing is going to be planned out to the T because of the type of environment that they live in. Also, guys, why did they treat Sienna so badly? Do they just think she's annoying, or she can't handle a lot of responsibility, or the weight of what's going on? I didn't really understand that part. I mean, is it because of her age? Or, I mean, to me, she hasn't shown signs that she can't be trusted or that she's incapable. So I'm not sure why they were so mean to her. What do you guys think about that? All right, let's talk about the girl Kiki and her Martha Maggie. Now, this scene is really important because it really makes you realize why it's so important to get these kids out of Gilead. I mean, it gives you a glimpse into what mindset the children are in within Gilead and how they're being raised, what they're being raised to think, and what they're being taught. The girl has no sense of self. She doesn't understand what self-aspirations are. And, they're only taught to fit into the category of a wife and a mother. And they don't even know what their own interests are. I mean, she tells June, what else would I be? And it was really sad when she said she couldn't remember what life was like before Gilead, because unlike adults and older children, they have no reference point to fall back on and think about before what their life is right now. But June, she plants that seed that there is a whole world of possibilities out there for her. As far as Maggie is concerned, I feel like that was really realistic. I mean, she's just sitting there thinking about what could go wrong with this whole plan, and they're not leaving until midnight. So I think it was just brewing in her head all the things that could happen, and she backed out and got scared. And I feel like that was a really realistic thing for somebody in this predicament. Now, I feel like June stepped up and said, look, you're not going to go. You're not taking this child. And she really stepped up as being that leader and that protector of that child's future, saying that it's too late now. You can't go back. She doesn't belong in this life because nobody belongs in this life. Now, I know she took it a little too far by pointing the gun at the girl, but I just feel like she was just full of adrenaline and emotion about that girl being taken and left in Gilead. This episode highlights Commander Lawrence's and June's relationship. Commander Lawrence is trying to fight for the little bit of control he feels he has, but it is too late for that. You gave the girl a gun and free range to carry out this plan. In this scene, their dialogue was almost as if he was reporting to a boss or an authority figure. I mean, look at June's posture here. At the end, when she's done with him, she says, "Go in grace, Commander Lawrence. You're dismissed. We're done with you. I need to move on with what I need to do with this plan that's going to be carried out today." When Commander Lawrence tries to get the girl to return back to her household, June is like, "Oh, no, we're not having that." And he's just like, "Oh, well, she'll be protected because she's a commander's daughter." And June points out to him the scenarios that can still happen to her. Even if she's a commander's daughter, she is still a slave to Gilead society. I mean, look at Eden. She was the pinnacle of Gilead's creation, and she still ended up going, astray, quote unquote. So I like the fact that June told him, look, this is not your house anymore. You don't run things anymore, because you really don't. You might as well just accept it and realize that there's about to be 52 plus people in your house tonight, and we're just going to continue on with this plan. Why back out now? All right, let's switch over to Fred and Serena. Now, Serena's getting really comfortable being over here in this detainee situation. She getting coffee brought to her. She outside having her, outside hours and trying to politely deny some meeting she got coming up next week. And Mark is just being so nice to her. And you guys were right when you commented on the last video saying that really he's just being polite because he wants to get information out of her. and then he'll be done with her. And then lo and behold, Fred finally does something I agree with. He got Serena back for her betrayal, and that immunity clause, it went out the window. It was null and void now. And what I like about what Mark said was, when he confronted Serena about her crime of rape and all of that, and having June sleep with somebody in order to obtain a child, and now Serena's trying to claim that child as her own, that's still rape. And Serena tried to say, oh, well, they were in a relationship. Okay, well, they weren't in a relationship when you forced them to have sex with each other. I mean, that was a forced act that you decided upon. And I was really waiting to see what was going to happen when they found out that wasn't Fred's baby and it wasn't a part of, Fred and Serena's, family, quote unquote. But I am so glad that she was taken into custody. Guys, I was screaming at the television. You don't understand. And clapping because I was so happy that they gave up that baby back to that social worker and Serena was taken away. I was just so happy. How did you guys feel about that scene? All right, guys, when the kids started showing up to the house, I was not ready. I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, it's midnight already. Like, it's getting close to that time, but you start to see people's real seriousness about this situation. Like this Martha right here, she killed this baby's, commanders basically, in order for this baby to escape. Like, this is very serious. And I was so happy to see Rita also. For some reason, I wasn't expecting that, for Rita to come along. But I was so happy she was there. And then, when all of them come inside and you see how many children and just people there are, you're just like, oh my gosh. My heart was beating. I'm like, can they make it? I hope that they make it. Now, when they go out to mark the trail or the route that they're going to take in order to get to the plane, that was 5 miles that they had to go mark out and then 5 miles back. So they were traveling a long way in order to mark that route out. I just wanted to point that out, that was a long journey for them, by the time they get back and they see all of those children, at the house. So as they're traveling through the woods, this is a lot of people. It had to be like 60 to 80 people going through the woods. And when the Guardians trucks were coming by with the lights, I was like, now, I think they would see them. But then when I look back on it, they were like down a hill. So it is going to be harder to see from the high point when you're tucked down into a hill and their lights just kind of go straight. So after, reevaluating that scene, I was like, well, maybe they could get away with hiding, even if it is almost like 100 of them. And what I noticed was how obedient the children were. I mean, it wasn't like any of the kids were like, no, I want to go back to my mom and dad, and they were really compliant to the Marthas. And that makes me think that they really respect the Marthas a lot and they have that family feeling with them, and you could tell that the Marthas really care about the children like they're their own. So maybe they just felt very safe and comfortable with the Marthas, because remember, a lot of them don't remember what life was like before, so this is all they know. So why would they voluntarily agree to just leave without putting up a fight? And I think it was because they just felt really comfortable and safe with the Marthas, that they had good intentions for them. I don't know about you guys, but I really felt bad when June had to figure out a plan in order to allow everyone else to escape, meaning she had to stay behind again. And this is the second time that she has had to stay back when she's had a way of escape. But I feel like all the other women that stayed back with her to help her, they were showing her that you're not in it alone this time. Like, this time we're going to stay with you because we know how important it is for all those children to escape, even if that means something is going to ultimately happen to us. It was great to see the women band together and for June to have that unwavering support from them. I feel like when June stepped out, she really just became the sacrificial lamb for the whole entire group, and she had no choice. He had to be led away from that entire airplane situation because it was super important for those kids and everyone else to make it onto that plane. Now, I knew she had this gun on her, so I was like, I wish she would have fake fell and then he could have came closer and then she could have shot him. I wish she didn't have to fall from actually getting shot. But I was so glad when she was able to convince him that it was to tell the other guy it was a false alarm and then shot him, because I felt like they would not have given her any mercy. So it's like, why even take that chance? Like, this mission, we've come too far to even leave it to chance. So he had to be annihilated. You could even tell when she pulls the trigger that she forced herself to do that, and she felt like she didn't have a choice, and it just was like she didn't want to kill that man, but she almost just felt like she had to, because even the shock of shooting the gun just kind of scared her and like took her aback. But once we saw that plane in the air, didn't y'all feel so relieved? I was so happy. I was like, oh, thank goodness they made it, and it just made her whole trip just worth it. So when we get to Canada, I'm just really happy to see Maura. She's like in charge and she's taking control of everybody, giving everyone directions. I love that we got to see Emily there taking like an active role in rescuing people or just being a part of supporting the cause. And Canada was prepared for anything. Like, come on, Canada. Y'all got ambulances. Y'all got medicine. Y'all got food, blankets. They were ready for whatever was going to come off of that plane. Was I the only one that thought, like, when Maura got onto the plane, like, what if nobody's on there? But when I saw them all, I, like, literally teared up. It was just so, that moment was just so deep and so great. It just felt like such a huge accomplishment. And when Maura talks to Kiki or Rebecca, and Rebecca's like, is this where I can wear whatever I want? And Maura says yes. And then she tells everybody that I'm Maura and I'm here to help you. And her voice was cracking. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was just so excited and so happy at that moment. What I loved about Rebecca finding her father was, other than the fact that she actually found someone that is her real family, is the fact that she told June that she didn't remember what it was like before, but she did remember her dad. And I just thought that was such an impactful moment, because she can't be of all but 10 or 11 or something like that. So she was only a tiny little person when she got taken away, but she remembers her father. And that was such a great moment. And in his perspective, he was a guardian and he probably didn't even want to do that. And he got his daughter taken away from him and he ended up escaping to Canada. So that was an interesting perspective from, a guardian who in the beginning probably was forced to be a guardian and also had his daughter taken from him, just like June had her daughter taken from her. I know Luke was definitely disappointed that he did not see Hannah, but I feel like with Rita telling him that June basically came up with this whole plan, that it did give him a little bit of solace in knowing that maybe Hannah could come out later on, and that June is really on the other side fighting. Speaking of Rita, she looked like she was so happy to be on Canadian soil. She looked like she thought she was never going to get out of Gilead. I was so happy for her. I felt relieved for her. And then when Emily introduced her, because she used to be June's walking partner, so I'm sure Rita knew who Emily was or had seen her a couple of times. I just felt like that was great for her to see a familiar face and also to just see Luke and connect his face with what June had said about him. So June is injured and we don't know what's going to happen with Fred and Serena. Will we see a trial in season 4? Will we ever find Hannah? How will Commander Law react seeing June again? And what will Aunt Lydia have to say? I mean, so much is in the air. How will this event affect the structure of Gilead? And will June ever make it out? I absolutely love this episode. It was a great way to end. I feel like the last few episodes were very strong, and I'm excited that the season 4 is coming. This is all that I have, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments below. And yes, I will be coming out with a video next week reviewing some other episodes. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.